Okay, so the first thing that I'm going to show you guys how to do is draw a person's head, because one of the biggest things that people like to draw is other people, particularly faces, portraits. So I'm going to be showing you a couple little tricks and things to keep in mind to know when you're drawing people's faces. Things that will help you keep them proportional and looking correct. So here we go. Now, I am going to be using an HB Artist pencil just because I like them. Number 2 pencils annoy me. And we're going to be using the ball and plane method that I learned from the Andrew Loomis books. Yay, 1930s advertisers. So what we do is we start with a circle. I know, it seems a little too simple, but there it is. You can take any picture of a person, divvy it up, and you'll end up with a circle and a plane, the jawline. Okay? Now, one thing to keep in mind is that your head is not perfectly spherical, it's kind of squished. Almost like you took a butter knife or something and you cut off part of the sphere. So we're going to note that right here. So I did that a little too strongly. Now what you're also going to do is, one thing to keep in mind, you have to cut this sphere in half. And keep in mind it is a sphere, so keep those contours in place. Cut across this. And you're also going to go halfway through the other way, connecting with the jawline. This will mark where the center of the face is and make it easier to create everything in its line and order, okay? Now, this line right here is where the top of the eye socket is, where the brow line is. It's also going to help you note where the top of the ear is. Note that the bottom of the ear will be at the jawline, okay? And the top of the jawline will also help you note where the tip of the mouth is. Now, you can divvy up a person's face into thirds. Their hairline, their brow line, tip of their nose, and their chin. 3 distinct sections, and all will help you make a face proportional. Now, we're going to see about drawing those eyebrows. Just simple little curve. Remember that with foreshortening and everything, they will seem smaller and thicker on the far side as opposed to the side closest to the viewer. Okay? They will also connect on the one side with the nose. One thing to keep in mind about the nose, the inner corner of the eye should match up with the tip of the nose. Okay? And the eye should also be within the constraints of the eye socket that you made. The iris, likewise, should not be bigger than the outline of your eye at resting position like this. So, like when you're surprised, yes, there should be whites around the eyes. Anytime else, not really. At the same time, however, you should not have an eye and then a gigantic iris and pupil. Sorry, it doesn't work like that. Instead, it looks human. Also to keep in mind, as the face angles, you will get part of the eye on the far side cut off by virtue of there's a nose there. I know, it's a shock, but it's there, and we have to keep that in mind. Okay? And yeah, those are some crappy eyelashes, but I'm working on it. And trying to make sure I don't mess up with this camera, because for some reason none of the computers in my house like video editing programs tonight, and yeah. So, gonna be careful. Also note, I changed where the highlight in the eye is on the other one to show that it's not going to be the same. The eyes are not going to be the same thing, just moved from one spot to another. It doesn't work that way. Based on the angle of the light, it will change just ever so slightly. So instead of being in the upper right near the pupil as it is on the right, it's a little more centered on the left, so that the light would be from somewhere over here most likely. Now, also to keep in mind is that there should be 5 eyes across the page. Now it's a little harder at an angle to do, but see, by doing an eye in between these two and then to the ear, I noticed that my ear was a little too far back, and I'm able to fix it before I do my lines too dark and make it more difficult. Also keep in mind, your nasobial crease does exist. It's just, you can just do a little line like that, and it also helps remind you that your lips do stick out a bit, so no perfect little curving lines. Now, the edge of the mouth, the very tip, should be equal with the center of the eye. Okay? So we're going to do that with a little nose in the mouth. And then we have a mouth. Utter shock, I know. We also have the chin. Add some smoothness and punch to the cheeks. Bring in that eye socket. Have a forehead. And erase a couple lines. But for all intents and purposes, we have this thing that's called a head. There we go. Yeah, there's still some lines there, but I drew too heavily. Let's add some hair. And I can show you guys how to do shiny hair and everything another day. Maybe a day when my computers do not hate me. Damn it, I always do the left eye a little too high. But, to recap, things to remember when you're drawing a person's face. The center of the eye should line up with the edges of the mouth. The inside corner of the eyes should line up with the tip of your nose. There should be 5 eyes across your face. You can divide a head into thirds. The hairline to the brow line to the nose, and nose to the chin. You do have a nasobial crease. Your mouth goes out a little. It's not flat, not just a slit into the face, and even if it was, it would still come out a little. Your highlight will change just a little. It will shift based on where the light is and how it's hitting the eyes. And I believe that's it. If you have any questions, comments, or ideas for other videos, please leave them in the section below, and stick around for my next video once I figure out what it'll be. See ya!